Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Bellon Huang, an undergraduate of Media and Culture at Lancaster University in the UK. This video is episode number 3 of the summary of the book, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat by psychologist and neurologist Oliver Sacks, chapters 10 to 14. And make sure to check out the summaries I did for the previous chapters of the book right over here. And now, let's get started. Chapter 10, Witty Ticcy Ray. In order to understand the character of the story, we will first have to understand his sickness first. About Tourette's, it is characterized and known for its excessive amount of energy and excitement, and is comprised of tics, jerks, mannerisms, grimaces, noises, involuntary curses, imitations, and compulsions of all sorts. Some of them are mild, but some of them are terrible and violent. It is caused by the disturbance in the very higher parts of the old brain, meaning which concludes the thalamus, hypothalamus, limbic system, and the amygdala. The excessive dopamine transmitters in the brain is what causes the excitement. And so then Sacks says dopamine should be lowered using the drug haloperidol, or Haldol in other words, which may be the only solution to Tourette's. As for our character of the chapter, Ray, or as Witty Ticcy Ray, as he would call himself, is a 24-year-old man, graduated and married, but could not find a job because of his tics. Like other Touretters, he was also extremely talented in music. For example, he plays the drums really well, with sudden creative, unpredictable improvisations as a result of his tics. And here we can see that tics here is serving him as an advantage. And besides that, he also plays ping pong really well because he was competitive, quick, and agile. And he had tics every few seconds. But the time when he visited Sacks, he was finding himself on the edge of a marriage crisis as he would yell, "Fuck, shit," of sexual excitement. The only times he felt tic-free is when he's sleeping or in the silence after he ejaculates. Sacks confirmed Ray's diagnosis, and Ray then started taking Haldol. Turned out that Ray was extremely sensitive to it. He was tic-free for 2 hours when Sacks only gave him the 1/8 of a milligram. So then Sacks gave him Haldol and told him to take it 3 times a day, 1/4 of a milligram at a time. But Ray came back with a black eye and a broken nose. Oh my days, poor guy. Haldol made him lose control of his speed, movements, and balance, and his tics had become slow and extended, while he found himself in weird, awkward postures. After that, Sacks decided to let him rest for 3 months, but during which Sacks talked him through what life without Tourette's is like and what life could offer him, since Ray is so dependent on his sickness, as he had exploited and used it his entire life. 3 months passed, and Ray started taking Haldol again, and worked really well this time, which Sacks thinks without the long talks, it would have been impossible. But after taking Haldol consistently, Ray no longer felt like himself. His quick, energetic, competitive, agile, creative self were all lost. He got a pretty good job and a happy marriage, and even became a father, but he felt like something is missing. After discussing with Sacks, Ray started taking Haldol only on work days, and on the weekends and holidays he sets himself free. Ray didn't overcome his tics, nor did he found a way to compensate it, but he learned how to live with it. As he once said to Sacks with Nietzsche, "Only pain is the ultimate liberator of the spirit." And indeed, said Sacks, he has achieved what Nietzsche calls the great health, with his humor, bravery, and resilience. Chapter 11, Cupid's Disease. This story is about an old lady, 90 years old, named Natasha K. She visited Sacks claiming that she feels more energetic than she had been for the past 20 years, but so much more energetic that she feels something's wrong with her. Just as she was wondering the other day of what could have possibly caused this sudden feeling of euphoria? She automatically thought of Cupid's disease. And indeed, she had Cupid's disease after being tested and brain scanned by Sachs. Turned out she had neurosyphilis and spiral chets, a flexible, spirally twisted bacterium that causes syphilis, a sexually transmitted disease, thus stimulating her cerebral cortex. The old lady wanted to get it treated, but also to keep it as it is, because she enjoyed the energy that the illness had given to her. Meanwhile, another patient also had neurosyphilis, but his liveliness and energy dwindled after he got treated. At the end of the chapter, Sachs says, "Isn't it ironic that some of the best feelings in the world can only be experienced with illnesses and diseases, whereas normality is lifeless and boring?" Chapter 12, A Matter of Identity. William Thompson. He was diagnosed with severe Korsakoff syndrome. He was always disoriented and could only remember things for no more than a few seconds. He was always misidentifying, imitating people with all kinds of improvisations, while he was always chatting away, like nothing seems to matter and nothing seems to be wrong. And what does he talk about, you might ask? He continuously spoke about false narratives, that is, people that don't exist, and confusing a person with another, whilst he had no sense or feeling of self, and even he did have one, it would be false and untrue. Moreover, he also had misconceptions with the truth and untruth. For instance, looking at his brother Bob at the hospital, William saw him as how he sees everything else. Nothing no longer meant anything to him. In comparison with Jimmy, his Korsakoff syndrome was way worse, as Jimmy feels, but William doesn't. Jimmy reconnects, but William couldn't. His situation was too bad to feel anything. And simply, Sachs says in the book, William was soulless. Chapter 13, Yes, Father, Sister. This story is about Mrs. B, a former research chemist. She presented a 180-degree change in personality when she visited Sachs. Through her jokes and puns, Sachs realized nothing had meaning to her. Sachs first thought that she is hypomanic, but turned out that she had carcinoma developing in the orbifrontal areas of both frontal lobes, shown through craniotomy. Sachs described her situation with the concept brought up by psychologist Luria, equalization, when nothing means anything and everything means nothing. Chapter 14, The Possessed. Having talked about Tourette's, there is apparently a super Tourette's, which is 50 times rarer than normal Tourette's and far more intense than regular Tourette's. For example, the old woman Sachs saw on the street, she was presenting those really violent, vigorous movements. Tourette's affects the person as a whole, physically and mentally, not just being composed of tics and sudden impulses. Also, the illness could not only be seen through lab settings, it has to be seen through reality, where one's reaction to the world can be seen. And that not only applies to Tourette's, Parkinson's also counts. At the end, Sachs says, we are not consecutions, meaning a sequence of events, of sensations and perceptions, because we have control over and own our feelings. But the opposite may be true for a super Tourette who has to fight in order to become an individual. And at most times, he succeeds because of his strong will. And that's it, guys, the summary of the book, The Man Who Mistook His Wife for a Hat, episode number 3, chapters 10 to 14. And make sure to comment below, share this video, turn on notifications, and subscribe to my channel. Watch those other videos if you're interested, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.